What's happening, everybody, on this Wednesday, May 7th, 2025? My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We are awaiting Carolyn Levitt's White House press briefing. We are going to bring you guys that as it happens. But at the same time, India and Pakistan are at war. That's not terrifying. That's not, what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with that? Also, I got to be honest, I got a little bone to pick with Scott Jennings. Big fan of Scott Jennings, got to be honest. I play his clips all the time when he drop kicks people on CNN. It's often very informative. It's also very funny. I think he's going to do a tremendous job when he runs for Senate in the great state of Kentucky. I got a bit of a bone to pick with him for not saying the very obvious thing out loud and embarrassing the biggest racist on TV, Jemele Hill. Got a bit of a bone to pick with him. Also, at the end of the show today, I'm going to show you the funniest police stop you have ever seen. You've ever seen. Cops have a rough day. A lot of the times, they see some really awful crap. They see really awful crap at all times. But every once in a while, they get to laugh a little bit, and we are certainly going to enjoy their laughter at what has got to be the funniest police stop I think I've ever seen. Guys, before we get rocking and rolling today, hit that thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking, we are rolling. Before we get going, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop, all the good stuff. You guys can see it all right here. We do always appreciate the support. That is the best way to... I got to be honest, these shorts, I have them. They are unbelievably comfortable. You guys should definitely check them out today. Guys, go to loudmajorityusa.com and use promo code LFA to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code LFA to get 20% off everything on the website. Thank you all so much for the support, as always. So once again, we are awaiting the White House press briefing with Carolyn Levitt. Before we get to that, let's talk about Scott Jennings, because I want to make sure I get this in. Recently, Donald Trump has signed an executive order barring transgender people from serving in the military, and this has caused quite the consternation amongst the radical left. Naturally, the radical left continues to jump to the absurd, jump to the extreme. I'm going to show you this clip. It's about 5 minutes long, but it's important because here's my bone I've got to pick with Scott Jennings.
Allowing transgender troops to serve hurts lethality and it hurts readiness. What do you say to that?
Well, there's no evidence of that. I think that, if that was the case, we've seen transgender people serving honorably for the last several years. And what has changed between now and then? They've just woken up to a new administration who has a different outlook on their ability to serve. So I think that, if you talk to people who are serving on active duty alongside transgender troops, they're not making these complaints. The leaders in the military are not making these complaints. These are political complaints about military service. So I think that all of the courts that have looked at this issue and looked at it, and said there's nothing in fact to back up what the government is claiming here. In fact, the judges challenged them to produce evidence, and they couldn't produce any evidence. So I think it's a really dark day for our country, where basically we're allowed to discriminate against a class of people.
Scott, if they can't produce evidence that this actually does, in fact, have an impact on readiness, how is this not then just discrimination?
Well, it's the opinion of the commander-in-chief, who, according to our Constitution, is the head of the military. Regardless of anyone's opinion or anybody's, whatever side you're on, whether you're for it or against it, at some juncture, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, and he has and should have broad latitude to determine how the armed forces should be operated. And so I think that's what he's doing here. I think that's ultimately what the court said today, was that the president is the commander-in-chief, and we gotta respect that.
But to her point, if there's not a downside, and it's been going on for years now, and I mean, I'm just presenting your argument to them.
Yeah.
What is the argument other than Trump, Hegseth, just doesn't want trans people in the military?
Well, I mean, I think that the president, we'll ultimately see. I think that's why the court is allowing the president to move forward with this until it works itself through the court system. Maybe the Supreme Court will be the final arbiter here to say, yeah or nay, you can do this. But ultimately, I think the court is showcasing deference to the executive, saying that, look, you're the president, you're over the military. You do, for the most part, get to sort of dictate the standards of our military. And I don't really see how you can push back against that. Again, we'll see what happens in the court.
I can.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can. What if the president wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't want any black people in the military? Do we give deference to him on that? Well, no. No, wait a second. It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous because you're discriminating against a group of people in a very similar way. No,
I knew you were going to say that, but it's still
excuse me. Well, I'm glad you.
I'm gonna leave this one alone
hold on.
today.
I'm curious. Why is it ridiculous? I mean, you just said the president should be the one who just decides.
Right.
So if he decides, he wakes up tomorrow and says, I think it's bad for morale, it's bad for cohesiveness, for there to be black people in the military, Latino people in the military, just in her hypothetical scenario, what's the difference between that and what we're seeing here?
I mean, are you really going to go down this ridiculous
I'm just.
road?
I'm sorry.
This is
asking
ridiculous.
based-
It is a ridiculous argument.
Well,
okay.
The president,
Considering what they've already
the
said
president
about
and the
DEI,
Secretary of
let me
Defense,
just-
the president and Secretary of Defense have an argument here. They believe that readiness and unit cohesion and overall operations of the military are impacted by this. That is their opinion, and that is the opinion of the commander-in-chief, who the Constitution gives broad latitude to run the armed forces. So that's their opinion. You're allowed to have one. You're allowed to have one. You're also allowed to run for president and become commander-in-chief yourself. But until you do, he's the commander-in-chief.
I have to just say,
That's-
I didn't
you know.
hear an answer to the hypothetical, right?
That's a-
I just
that's
didn't hear it.
hypothetical, though.
I
That's
didn't.
a little
I mean,
different.
okay. The definition of discrimination, according to the American Psychological Association, discrimination is the unfair or prejudicial treatment of people or groups based on characteristics such as race, gender, age, or sexual orientation. What is the difference between, prohibiting certain groups like transgender people from serving versus, people based on their race or even their gender, frankly?
I personally think there's a difference, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, I will say.
Do you believe that race and are you saying that the quality of race and the quality of transgender are the same?
I'm just asking the question because I think you're making there's a distinction, but you're not explaining why.
No, I'm asking you. You guys brought up the hypothetical. Are you arguing that someone's race is the same as someone choosing to become transgender?
But your argument, you've made the argument twice that the commander-in-chief's opinion is all that matters. You've said that twice now.
Well,
So
under
if
the
they wake up-
Constitution, yes.
So if he wakes up tomorrow and says it's not okay to be gay or lesbian and serve, because that's his opinion, there's nothing to back that up. They meet the physical standards. They meet the intellectual standards. They have voluntarily decided to serve their country, to give their life for this country. So many of us don't have to. That it's the opinion without any basis in fact that's what matters more than the Constitution of equal rights and equal protection.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the other thing, or there's a few things that bothered me about this, and mostly it was the language of the policy, right? When you're reading at some of these words, transgender people as inherently untruthful, undisciplined, dishonorable. That's like a very weighty thing to say about people who are courageously deciding to protect this country. The other problem, Scott, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't. And so the whole point is when you target one group, and inevitably that line moves to everybody else. And I'm not saying he's coming for black people tomorrow, but considering that this is a...
Now, why do I show you that that insanely long video? Here's why. And I got to be honest, Scott, big fan, let's be honest. But you're kind of skating around it. Do you know why transgender people shouldn't serve in the military? And why it's nothing like black people? Because being transgender is a mental illness. We don't want mentally ill people serving on the front lines of our military. Now, I want to be clear. You want to do that as an adult, have a good time. I don't actually care all that much. However, it's going to be kind of weird. It's going to be kind of weird when you have to be taken off the front lines in order to continue your estrogen treatments. That's really weird. It's probably not going to work so well because I just popped this up on the screen, looked it up real quick just to see what other conditions would bar you from serving in our United States military. And I got this from the United States Coast Guard Academy. So not even the real Coast Guard, just the school to get into the Coast Guard. You cannot be in the Coast Guard if you're colorblind. You can't be in the Coast Guard if you have certain food allergies. You cannot be in the Coast Guard if you do not have sufficient natural or artificial teeth sufficient for biting or chewing. You cannot be in the Coast Guard if you have a problem with hearing. You cannot be in the Coast Guard if you have, are you ready for this? Torn cartilage or an unstable ACL or PCL in your knee. So, basically anyone who played running back in high school can't serve in the military. If you've had your meniscus torn in the last 6 months, I know a lot of guys who tore their meniscus and just never got the damn thing fixed. And they're walking around just fine. Also, you can't serve if you don't have the correct vision. The things that you can't serve in the military if you're allergic to latex, okay? But we're going to let people serve that are full-blown mentally ill. And look, I want to be clear. This is not a dig at the people who are mentally ill. This is not a dig at the people who are transgender, who are bulimic, who are anorexic, who have something going on, who suffer from depression and anxiety, which is also on the list of reasons why you can't serve in the military. I hope all these people who have any of these afflicting conditions are helped out, get the help that they need. I mean that sincerely. However, why would we have one without the other? And it seems like a guy like Scott Jennings, who I, as I said, am a fan of, seems to be kind of dancing around the argument about why transgender people serving in the military is different than black people. And this is what we do on the right, which, and I don't necessarily blame him. I don't. Because, look, he's got a transgender person sitting on the panel with him, and he probably doesn't want to be a dick to the person he's sitting across from. I absolutely get that, okay? Absolutely get that. Nobody wants to go out of their way to be rude. But when we're making a societal point, maybe, just maybe, it might be beneficial to call it for what it is. Up until about 10 minutes ago, gender dysphoria was a mental illness. If you can't serve in the military, if you're allergic to latex, this one I find incredibly odd. Apparently, you can't have abnormalities which interfere with military equipment or are disfiguring. This falls under the head, scalp, and face. So if your head is too pointed and you can't put on a helmet, you can't serve in the United States Coast Guard. I mean, this seems fairly obvious. And I want to be clear. You serve the military, you're doing a hell of a lot more than I am. But let's just call a spade here. Let's just be honest. Because maybe if we were honest, we wouldn't have to. I'm not sure who the other gentleman is that was on that panel. He's on CNN all the time. He says, I'm not even going to get into it. And that's what's troubling. Because when we don't get into these topics, when we ish foot around these sorts of topics, we get stupid responses. We get wishy-washy things. Just come out and say it. If you're bulimic, you can't serve in the military. That doesn't mean that I have ill will towards people who suffer from bulimia or anorexia or have some kind of club foot. You can't serve in the military if you're missing a hand. You're going to need that. Just as you can't serve in the military if you need estrogen or testosterone to function during the day. Because it turns out the majority of the people who are transgender in this country are suffering from some sort of secondary disease, like depression or anxiety or autism. This is not, like, I'm not breaking science here. Up until like 10 minutes ago, we all knew this. We all knew this. But some people are just afraid to say it. And it's troubling. Because like I said, I do like Scott. I like Scott a lot. I think he's going to make a phenomenal senator when he runs for Senate, which it seems like he is certainly queuing himself up to do. But, you know, I guess you can't win them all, right? You can't win them all. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We're going to talk about India and Pakistan because, you know, that's kind of terrifying. That's kind of terrifying that we are going to, that we're dealing with two nuclear armed powers basically going to war with each other over, you're never going to believe it, religion. What a thought. What a thought. Guys, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place before we rock, before we roll. Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, support the people who support the parallel economy by heading on over to own.oldglorybank.com. That's own.oldglorybank.com, and you can own part of a bank for just $63. Also, guys, consider opening an account with them. They are huge sponsors of the show, and I'm glad that they are. Actually, the CEO of Old Glory Bank, Mike Ring, is going to be on the show on Friday. So you guys can get your questions answered. Anything you need, go to oldglorybank.com. So we are awaiting the White House press briefing right now. They are running a bit behind. They're running a bit behind schedule, such is life. You know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? They're busy people. They are busy people. So we are awaiting the White House press briefing at the moment. We will bring that to you guys as it comes out. So let's talk about India and Pakistan, because what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with this? Now, I want to be clear. Some of the images coming out of this story, I am not going to share with you because they are incredibly graphic. Unfortunately, it's a shame that that has to happen. It's a shame that that sort of thing has to happen. But what do we got here? No. It's a shame that we have to do this. But apparently, some of the people who were killed in this recent altercation were I don't even know if I even want to get into it. I don't even know if I want to get into it. But let's break down the news and then we'll talk about it. India launched military strikes on Pakistan on Wednesday, and Pakistan claimed it shot down 5 Indian Air Force jets in an escalation that pushed the two nations to the brink of a wider war. The escalation puts India and Pakistan in dangerous territory, with Islamabad vowing to retaliate against the Indian strikes. An international community is calling for restraint. New Delhi said that the strikes were in response to the massacre of 26 people, mostly Indian tourists, who died in late April, when gunmen stormed a scenic mountain spot in the Indian-administered part of Kashmir, a disputed border region. India has blamed Pakistan for the attack, which Islamabad denies. The videos coming out of this are horrific. Absolutely horrific. Pakistan security sources claim that they had shot down 5 Indian Air Force jets, and there are a lot of videos proving it. I want to be clear. I don't want to show some of the videos. Apparently, the men who were killed in this strike were stripped naked, and how will we say this? They were stripped naked and searched, visibly searched, for proof of Islam. They checked whether or not they were cut or not. The men who were then summarily executed. Apparently, the Pakistani forces and look, I want to be clear. Some of these reports, the first casualty of war is usually the truth. It's an old saying, so I want to be clear. This is obviously an escalating situation, but apparently they were wearing Indian military uniforms and checked to see people's papers when they could not provide them. When they could not provide sufficient paperwork, they were stopped, they were stripped naked, and executed in the middle of the road. It's absolutely, it's pretty terrifying stuff coming out of Kashmir. And look, the area in which they're fighting over has been something that has been, an international, an international conflict area for quite some time, the area of Kashmir. So basically what happened was, following World War II, not because of it, but in the aftermath of World War II, India split off into 2 countries, the Hindu-controlled India and the Muslim-controlled Pakistan, as a way to try to quell the sort of sectarian violence that was going on there. Obviously, there have been massive disputes over the land in northeast India and southeast Pakistan for quite some time. We haven't seen a conflict between the two sides since the late 90s. Of course, a lot has changed since then, considering both of them are now nuclear-armed powers. This is probably one of the real first international conflicts of 2 nuclear-armed powers. Obviously, Narendra Modi in India, a man who is not going to stand for this sort of thing. Anyone who knows the history of Narendra Modi knows that he's definitely not going to stand for this sort of thing. Also, Pakistan, not known for their modest responses, to say the least. So this is quite terrifying, if we're being honest here, with 2 nuclear-armed powers on the brink of war. President Trump responded, saying, "I hope it ends very quickly." A reporter asked Trump to his reaction about the attacks between the 2 nations, which he responded, "It's a shame. We just heard about it as we were walking into the Oval Office. I just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. They've been fighting for many, many decades, centuries, actually, if you really think about it. I just hope it ends quickly." Several missiles were reportedly fired into Pakistan from India, labeled Operation Sindoor. The Indian defense minister said it targeted 9 sites of terrorist infrastructure in the Pakistani-occupied Kashmir and Jammu regions. ABC News reported the Pakistani army said that India had attacked Bahawalpur. I'm not even going to pronounce after that. With 3 people being killed and 12 people being injured, according to CNN. India carried out the attack in response to the one that was carried out on Indian tourists in Kashmir in April. In the attack, gunmen opened fire on tourists, killing dozens. The Pakistani Prime Minister Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif, his office said in response to the military operation, the Pakistani nation and the Pakistani armed forces know how to deal with the enemy very well. The enemy will never be allowed to succeed in these nefarious objectives. Look, this may not be a huge thing yet, but it is something that could turn into a very huge thing very quickly. So obviously we'll be keeping our eyes on that. As we await the White House press briefing, apparently that has been pushed back. Instead, we will be getting Trump swearing in of the ambassador to China, which actually that kind of works because it brings us to our next topic. Before we get to that, guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. I'm liking it a lot. Do me a favor, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad. For all things LFA TV related, check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFA TV. Of course, your Rumble rants are always, we're always thankful for those. That's how we keep the lights on here at LFA TV. So once again, wherever you're watching, thumbs up, hit that thumbs up button. We rock, we roll, giddy up, let's go. Once again, we are awaiting President Trump and the swearing-in ceremony of the Chinese ambassador. It seems like the press briefing has been pushed back. We will wait and see. We'll wait and see all of what is happening there. Let's see here. Bum, 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 bum. Yes, we are awaiting that. So let's talk about China. So China, obviously, we are in a bit of a tiff with Xi Jinping over the fact that they've basically been stealing our intellectual property and tariffing or providing us with cheap plastic crap while we send all of our factories overseas. Well, Scott Bessent says that a trade deal is coming. He said that to Laura Ingraham last night. And I want to be clear, a lot of people are still freaking out about the potential market issues. Right now, the market is up about a point throughout the day, with the 5-day being up a little bit more than half a point, but in the 1 month, it's up almost 9 points since the major dip we saw in Liberation Day. Now, as I've said numerous times on this platform and on this show, I believe that along with the tax cuts, along with the budget bill that is going to be coming out of the White House, of Congress, you are going to see a financial boom in the markets. I'm obviously not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, but if I were one, I would tell you to probably consider buying the dip right now, because once we get those tax cuts, once we get that, it is going to force Jerome Powell to lower the rates. Once these trade deals begin to come in, you're going to start to see more stability, I should say, in the economy. And that small dip we took is going to pay off. So if you are your average investor on Robinhood or E-Trade, I don't know. I would consider doing something like that. Here is Scott Bessent.
Building for some reason, exclusively to tell us more about what Wall Street has been waiting for. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us. Now, earlier today, you said that we hadn't had negotiations with China. Now you're 2 days away from getting on a plane. And I know you've been working around the clock, but what changed? What was the catalyst for this?
Well, Laura, we haven't had negotiations. And first, thanks for having me on the show. The world has been coming to the U.S., and China has been the missing piece. I was going to be in Switzerland to negotiate with the Swiss. Turns out the Chinese team is traveling through Europe, and they will be in Switzerland also. So we will meet on Saturday and Sunday. And, look, we have shared interest that this isn't sustainable, as I said before, especially on the Chinese side. And, 145%, 125% is the equivalent of an embargo. We don't want to decouple. What we want is fair trade.
But who made the first call? Like in a dating world, like who makes the first call here today?
There are lots of calls, Laura. Is that there isn't a first call. There are a lot of contact points over time.
All right. China typically loves a long, drawn-out process, as we knew in previous trade negotiations. How do you get them in this situation, without revealing too much, to move at the speed that we know President Trump wants to operate at with this deal, which I imagine will be fairly large?
Well, I think that this is what we're going to do in Switzerland is we've agreed to talk. Then on Saturday and Sunday, we will agree what we're going to talk about. My sense is that this will be about de-escalation, not about the big trade deal. But we've got to de-escalate before we can move forward.
Well, they said that they would not talk unless the reciprocal trade tariff of 100
the clip cut off a little early, that China wouldn't talk unless we brought down the reciprocal tariffs. Now, I don't think the president's going to do that. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to continue to play hardball with the Chinese government because now he's pot committed. He's got to go all in. Luckily, I trust the people around President Trump that they know what they're doing. Why? Because guys like Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick have been talking about tariffs for quite some time. Unfortunately, we live in this sort of weird, myopic, 24-hour news cycle where if one bad thing happens in a day, it is a catastrophe for all of time. I don't really think that the White House really cares about that. I think that they're looking at this far more long-term. Which is good because honestly, this is why, dictatorial regimes like China and Russia and North Korea and many of the countries that don't really have that don't have real elections, why they almost have an advantage over democracies, over the West. Because we worry about things in terms of news cycles. They think 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So a nation like China, which has been buying American debt for the last 50 years, they know they can long game us. They know they can do that. How will we respond? Well, I think that's what President Trump did with the tariffs. I think he ripped the Band-Aid off of a problem that had been going on for quite some time. And that's why you saw that basically 10% dip in the market. But I worry not. I absolutely worry not. Guys, once again, we are awaiting either the White House press briefing or the swearing in of the new ambassador to China. Once we get that, we will bring that to you guys live. I'm sure President Trump will be taking questions following the swearing in, as he always does. And we want to bring you guys up-to-date stuff coming out of the White House. Before we get rocking and rolling like that, here's Jeremy.
Oh, hey, folks. How you doing? Jeremy Harrell here, LFA TV. I was just reading up here on Fatty 15. Sounds kind of funny, right? It's not, though. Fatty 15 is a new supplement that we are taking here at LFA TV that I'm personally taking myself that has a nutrient in it called C15. And what is C15? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can thank our aquatic friends, the dolphins, for science figuring this out. The first breakthrough in 90 years about what the proper amount of C15 in your body can do. Every one of us wants peace. Every one of us wants to experience joy and a long life with our kids and our grandkids sitting in a setting like you see behind me. Well, there's one way that you can do that outside of eating right, having a good diet, exercising, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, but also taking supplements that our bodies just don't produce anymore because we're all breaking down, especially as we get older. Fatty 15 has a nutrient called C15. And what this does is it, first of all, repairs your old damaged cells and then kind of slows down the aging process of your cells, giving you longevity of life. And 72% of people taking Fatty 15 see massive benefits within 16 weeks. Some earlier, some later. But those benefits are absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Most people said their liver and heart health feels much better. A lot of people said that their skin is changing. They feel like they're healthier. Their metabolic system changes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's also vegan friendly. Now, Fatty 15 has 3 times the cellular benefits as any omega-3 or fish oil. Omega-3 and fish oil also can go bad after a while. By replenishing our cells with this C15 nutrient that I'm talking about in here, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Now, I can get you a 15% off a 90-day subscription right now by going to fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. That's fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. And ladies and gentlemen, despite the name, it's not going to make you a fatty. It's actually going to give you something that you've been wanting for a long time, to feel younger again. Who doesn't want that? Fatty15.com/LFA, code LFA. Check it out now. Thank you guys so very much. Have a wonderful day.
Guys, we are going to kick it over live to the White House right now. Make sure you keep it locked in here. LFA TV all day for all the updates. Giddy up. Let's go.
Tomorrow, May 8th, as a Victory Day for World War II, commemorating the 80th anniversary of America's victory in the Second World War. All over the globe, our World War II allies are celebrating this week, but the United States has never joined in with the proper celebration of our own, and the victory was mostly accomplished because of us. Whether you like it or not, we came into that war and we won that war, and we had a lot of help from a lot of great people, a lot of great allies. But I think there would be nobody that would say that we were not the dominant force in that war, and we don't celebrate it. And I think that's a great disservice to the people that lost their lives and people that fought so hard in winning World War II, and also a separate Victory Day for World War I, and we're going to be doing that too. It was American tanks and ships and trucks and airplanes and service members that vanquished the enemy 80 years ago this week. Without America, the liberation would never have happened. And so we have to pay tribute and homage to those people that gave us victory. And we did something else that people don't talk about. We rebuilt the world. All of these countries that were destroyed, we helped them rebuild. And that's something that, for the most part, others did not do. So with this proclamation, we are hereby honoring the incredible sacrifice and heroism of millions of Americans who served in World War II, along with the unprecedented mobilization, home front that helped deliver this great triumph. All Americans should take pride in what these incredible patriots have achieved. So I just want to say happy Victory Day to all. So we are celebrating every year now. I can guarantee for 4 years, but I think after that we're going to have 2 Victory Days, World War I and World War II. This is World War II Victory Day. In the future, we're going to have a major celebration of each day in World War II. We're not going to have days off because we don't have enough days in the year. We have too many celebrations already. But we're going to have Victory Day and for World War I, World War II. And without us, those wars would not have been won. I think we can say that, would not have been won. And I think it's time that the United States starts taking credit for their achievements. And I really believe it's a shame. You know, I was watching for the last week, and I noticed France, I noticed other countries all getting ready for Victory Day. And I said, that's sort of strange, because David just added something. He said, we also rebuilt the world. And I didn't have that, and I should have that. That was a big factor. But I noticed all of the countries, Russia, having a big day tomorrow. And by the way, they lost millions of people, and they were absolutely a major factor. But there was no major factor like us. We won the war, and we won it with the help of others. But everybody was celebrating but the United States of America. And I said, you know, I think it's time that we start celebrating victory. And that's what we're doing. So now for the reason that we're here, but I asked David, would it be appropriate if I did that? He said, absolutely. That's a big thing that we're doing on your swearing in, very big thing. But now for the real reason, and a reason that I'm very proud of because he's been my friend for a long time. We're swearing in our next ambassador to the People's Republic of China. What timing, David, what timing? Only you could have picked this timing. It's your fault. I picked him a long time ago, but it just happened to come due on a pretty important date. But our friend David Perdue, Senator David Perdue, joining David this afternoon are his incredible wife Bonnie, who's been at his side for a long time, their sons David and Blake, their daughter-in-law Danielle and daughter-in-law Charlotte, and their grandsons David, Hudson, and Jack. That's a beautiful family. Congratulations. I didn't think you had it in you, David. That's really something. That's pretty amazing. Look at that. Our new ambassador brings to this position a lifetime of experience at the highest levels of business and politics, and he is at the highest level. Over 4 decades in business, he rose to lead several major American corporations, including as the president and CEO of the footwear giant Reebok, where he did very well, he did a great job, and later CEO of Dollar General. Likewise, he did a great job. David also lived and worked in Singapore and Hong Kong for several years, developing a wealth of experience negotiating and doing tremendous business deals for lots of different leaders that he worked with. Following his tremendous business success as an executive, David stepped forward to serve America in government, and as we all know, in 2014, he was elected United States Senate in Georgia, and he was very popular, very respected from day one. He served on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and was a tremendous partner to our administration during my first term. I dealt with him a lot, and he solved a lot of problems. Now I'm entrusting David to help manage one of America's most complex and consequential foreign relationships, and I know he'll do a fantastic job. As our lead diplomat in Beijing, David will work to promote American interests and stability in the Indo-Pacific, help stop the flood of Chinese fentanyl across our borders, which we have to do. We lost, I believe, 300,000 people last year. Seek fairness and reciprocity for the American worker, ensure the safety of our citizens overseas, and promote peace in the region and in the world. And I'm confident that he will do an exceptional job. He's an exceptional man, and make our country very proud and make our country very safe, too. So, David, I want to congratulate you. This is as big as it gets, and the timing is unbelievable, but it's time that we have somebody like this. This is a very, very extraordinary man, and you're going to do a fantastic job. And say hello to President Xi when you're over there, please, okay? Thank you very much. Marco, would you do the service? Thank you.
Put your left hand and raise your right. Raise your right hand. All right. I state your name.
I, David Perdue,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same,
that
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and
faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
David, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, I'm humbled to be in this office today. I love what you've done with this office. I like the Declaration of Independence. I want the world to know that I know this man personally. He loves this country, and I am glad to be your man in China. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I think just for the sake of formality, here we go, David. Come on up. Come on up here, Bonnie. That's what it's all about, right? And now we send you on your way. Lots of luck.
Yes, sir.
We're right behind you, David.
Look forward to seeing you over there, sir.
Okay, have a good time.
God bless
Thank you.
you.
Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, the Treasury Secretary just told lawmakers that a tariff exemption for certain baby items like car seats is under consideration. Will you exempt some products that families rely
I don't
on?
know. I'll think about it. I don't know. I really don't. I want to make it nice and simple. I'm not looking to have so many exemptions that nobody knows what's doing. We have to make it very simple, but I'll take a look at it. Yep. Please.
Mr. President, there are rumblings in Washington that some House Republican moderates are opposed to defunding Planned Parenthood in this year's reconciliation package. What do you say to those members, and are you supportive of?
Well, I don't know yet. I have to see because you're just telling me that for the first time. We'll work something out.
Mr. President, what are you hoping your representatives will get out of the talks in Switzerland on China? And secondly, what does China need to do on fentanyl specifically? What do you want to see them do?
Well, they have to stop fentanyl from coming in. That'll be a very big part. And I had that understanding with President Xi before I left last time, and we had a deal, and he would have honored the deal. But when Biden came in, of course, nothing ever happened with him. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. But that would have saved a lot of lives. That election cost us a lot of lives and a lot of heartache. The fact that we went through 4 years of misery, and you look at what's coming through the border and the job of getting murderers out of our country. So many bad things happened. The wars. You wouldn't have October 7th. You wouldn't have Russia fighting with Ukraine. You wouldn't have had that disaster in Afghanistan. You wouldn't have had inflation. All these things would have not taken place. So sad to see what happened. Any other questions?
Are your administration sending migrants to Libya?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Homeland Security, please.
Vice President Vance said Russia was asking for too much to end the war. Given that, do you still have confidence that...
When did he say that?
Earlier this morning.
Well, it's possible that he's right. He may know some things that, because I've been dealing with this and some other things, but we are getting to a point where some decisions are going to have to be made. I'm not happy about it. Okay.
Just to follow up, sir, on the talks in Switzerland, what do you expect? What do you hope to come out of it?
We'll see. I mean, look, it's we were losing $1 trillion a year. Now we're not losing anything. You know, that's the way I look at it. We were losing with China on trade $1 trillion a year, more actually, 1.1. But let's say $1 trillion. You know what we're losing now? Nothing. That's not bad.
Mr. President, are you planning a new ceasefire and hostage deal proposal for Israel and Hamas before you head over to the region next week?
Where?
In Gaza.
In Gaza. Well, we're going to see what's happening. There's a lot of talk going on about Gaza right now. You know that, right? So you'll be knowing probably in the next 24 hours.
Actions between the war in India and Pakistan. What's your position?
Oh, it's so terrible. My position is I get along with both. I know both very well, and I want to see them work it out. I want to see them stop. And hopefully they can stop now. They've gone tit for tat, so hopefully they can stop now. But I know both. We get along with both countries very well, good relationships with both, and I want to see it stop. And if I can do anything to help, I will be there. You know, by the way, unrelated, but I guess it's all related when you look at the world nowadays. Rwanda and the Congo, we've made a lot of progress in getting that disaster stopped. We've had a very talented person over there, and we've made a lot of progress with Rwanda and Congo fighting a very violent war, by the way.
China says in order to have substantive negotiations, you have to bring down your 145% tariffs. Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?
No.
Mr. President, Senator Tillis has come out against Ed Martin as U.S. Attorney. Do you have any response to that?
Well, it's disappointing because, you know, I know Eddie's very talented. Crime is down in Washington, D.C. Street crime, violent crime by 25%. And it's people have seen, they've noticed a big difference. So I didn't know that. But if he if anybody voted against him, I feel very badly about it, only in the sense that in this short period of time that he's been there, crime is down 25% in Washington, D.C. But that's really up to the senators. If they feel that way, they have to vote the way they vote. They have to follow their heart, and they have to follow their mind.
Mr. President, referring to the Persian Gulf as the Arabian Gulf, are you going to make that announcement on your
They're going to ask me about that when I get there, and I'll have to make a decision.
So you haven't made a decision
I
yet?
don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't know if feelings are going to be hurt. Why have a case right over here? It's called Gulf of America, and I guess a lot of people get ideas from us. But the Gulf of America was something I thought should have been named a long time ago. I'm going to be given a briefing on that. It was just done, and I'll make a decision.
Is it the U.S. position that Iran can have an enrichment program as long as it doesn't reach a weapons?
We haven't made that decision yet. We will, but we haven't made that decision yet. Yeah.
China said the U.S. initiated the trade talks this weekend and that its position hasn't changed. Are you still confident you can reach a deal with China?
They said we initiated? Well, I think they ought to go back and study their files. Okay? I do think that. Go ahead. What do you?
Are you planning to ease chip export restrictions to some of these Gulf countries and then also make announcements regarding...
We might be doing that, yeah.
And their nuclear programs, civilian nuclear programs?
And it'll be announced soon.
And you're to help them develop some nuclear power?
Well, we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look. But, we had really a very good, as you know, we had a very good outcome with the Houthis, and we honor their word. I mean, they made a commitment, and we dealt with other countries that were close to them and their surrogates, and we honor all of their words. We'll see what happens, but I think, I believe that hopefully that's over with, and they'll leave the ships alone, just leave those ships alone. But so we do. We take their word for it. It was, we hit them very hard. They had a great capacity to withstand punishment. They took tremendous punishment. And, you could say there's a lot of bravery there. It was amazing what they took. But we honor their commitment and their word. They gave us their word that they wouldn't be shooting ships anymore, and we honor that. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to congratulate David Perdue and his family. He's going to be really an incredible ambassador to China. I have no doubt about it. And we're going to work together very closely. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you, David.
All right. All righty. So that was President Trump taking questions from the media at the 1 p.m. hour here. There was supposed to be a press briefing, but I guess that's not happening at the moment. Keep it locked in here on LFA TV for all the updates. I don't know if Carolyn is going to have a press briefing later on in the day or not. They seem to be running a little bit behind today. But once again, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Somebody in the YouTube chat says, this is what happens when uneducated Americans vote for a convicted felon. Thank you, Fox News. Fox News is not right-wing populist propaganda, as you've decided to say. They're actually neocon propaganda, but hey, what the hell? What the hell are we going to do? Guys, do me a favor. Once again, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's get this live chat up. I want to make sure I say hello to everybody. I want to make sure I say hello to everybody new watching in the chat. Sorry, I know we were supposed to get a briefing today, but hey, things happen. Things happen. What can you do? What can you do? I promise you guys, in just a moment, I'm going to show you guys one of the funniest police stops you've ever seen in your entire life. Let's get rocking. Let's get rolling here. Once again, guys, do me a favor and head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. You can pick up this We the People Are Pissed Off t-shirt. This seems to be the highest selling one of any shirt I've ever made. Everyone seems to love it. We have it in men's and women's. So pick that up today. Loudmajorityusa.com and use promo code LFA to get 20% off everything on the website. Also, Will Johnson coming up next. Make sure you guys keep it locked in here all day. Friday, we'll be joined by the CEO of Old Glory Bank, Mike Ring. I'm getting a phone call right now from somebody who ought to know better. Let's see here. How's everybody doing? Messianic Mick, how are you? R-Star, what's happening? Angie, Dawn Lawson, how are you? We the People and the Jack Daniels. Yes, everyone loves the Jack Daniels shirt. I know I certainly do also. I know I certainly do too. USN Vet, U.S. Navy Vet, how are you? Let's see here. Who are we missing? Sly, what's happening? Conservative Autumn, as always. Natalie, how are you? Very good stuff. So as I said, we are going to show you guys the funniest police stop you've ever seen. So cops deal with a lot of crap. A lot of crap at all times. They really do. I got a lot of friends who are on the job, and they tell me horror stories. Horror stories about the stuff that they see. But every once in a while, you'll get a call from an old woman who is in trouble because there is a raccoon stuck in her car. And when you get to that call, you may run into that raccoon smoking the woman's meth pipe.
Hello? The raccoon has her meth pipe.
As what?
Oh my God. Her meth pipe. He's playing with the meth pipe right now. No, don't reach for it. That's evidence now.
Oh, I don't want him to have that.
That's why I'm gonna do it. Hey, buddy. Huh?
It's okay.
Okay, you're on Arlington. He'll be here in 2 minutes. I'm right across from my house.
Is that what that
A few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
is what she's smoking meth in. Okay.
The raccoon's
playing with her meth pipe. All right.
Oh, there's no. He's trying to smoke it.
All right. Thanks.
There's no way.
All right. Enough fun and games. Here.
Yeah.
Holy hell. Huh?
Oh.
Yeah, he's on his way here.
Keep an eye. She was trying to take the meth pipe out of the car. Just keep an eye on her real quick.
Don't you just hate it? Don't you just hate it when wild raccoons break into your car and begin smoking your meth pipe? I hate when that happens. That poor woman. Poor woman. Guys, Will Johnson's ready to go. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I will catch you guys back live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Guys, keep it locked in here, rumble.com/LFATV for all the updates. Until tomorrow, everybody, stay loud.